Hi, I'm Kim Shadowan in Lipscomb University's Office of Public Relations and Communications. And today I'm here with a special edition of Bison Talk because these are unusual times. I'm joined by Chris Gonzalez, who is Associate Professor and Director of the Marriage and Family Therapy Program at Lipscomb University. And we have sat down with Dr. Gonzalez before to share insight and wisdom on, the transition from when college students leave the nest for the first time and what parents are going through and what students are thinking about, and thought that it might be good to have a conversation today about another topic that all of us are facing, or many of us are facing. And, that's the issue of college students coming home for the semester at a time when parents weren't expecting it, college students weren't expecting it, and just, what we can do in this day of COVID-19 and just all of the ramifications of that to make life a little bit easier, perhaps, for everybody. So, Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me into this conversation.
Yeah, so we're here on Zoom. This is our life for a little bit
Yep.
here in higher education. But you and I are both parents of college students. In fact, I'm here sitting in my son's room because it's got the best place in the house to do something like this. But tell us a little bit about, what's been happening across the country. It seems like every day brings some new aspect of this, but semesters have been cut short. Life is really different. And obviously there's the anxiety and just, the real concern about the virus itself, but there's all of this other stuff that's going on, and college students, I think, are really thrust into the middle of it. So kind of in their worlds, what's happening right now?
Well, they're going through a series of substantial either cancellations or adjustments. So either the thing they were looking forward to just isn't there anymore, and so there's that loss, or the thing is still there, like class, but it's not in class, it's online. And that's not what anybody signed up for, teachers included. But it's asking a lot of our students to make these kinds of adjustments. And each of us has an adjustment capacity. And so things don't go as expected. We kind of observe the situation and adjust. What's happened here is it's been so many rapid adjustments so fast, and they're not really negotiable adjustments. I mean, right. Powers larger than us are making decisions for us, and we just have to go along with it. And so this idea of autonomy and rugged individualism that we have as Americans, that has produced a lot of good things and that we swim in, all of a sudden, and especially for late adolescents, emerging adults, this is the time where they're rapidly gaining all this autonomy. And now they're being told, you can't do it this way. There's no way you can do it this. You can't go here. You can't sit at a coffee shop with your friend. I mean, and another thing that's happening with them and with us, with everyone, is we hear about a major cancellation or a major change, but only after a few of the ripples go out do we realize, oh, that means I can't do this anymore. I can't do it that way anymore. And suddenly things that structured their time and space don't do it.
Right.
And so they're left with a lot of ambiguity.
And really no time for saying goodbye, in some cases, seniors. Yeah. And that's a whole.
My daughter's a senior, and so I'm watching it unfold right inside my house because she's back home with us. And yesterday she had several friends over. That was before the safer at home order went into effect. We can't even do that today. And some of her friends are going back home to Colorado and other places, and they're not coming back. There's no graduation. Yeah.
So, one of the things, so there's that, that's a real thing that students are grappling with. And with that, going on in their minds, they're moving home unexpectedly. Parents, we've gotten used to it by this point in the year, or if they're a couple of years into college, it's like, oh, we've gotten used to our routine, and then here they are coming
Mhm.
in and messing up our routine. And then these students
Right.
who have gained their independence are coming home to a place where, as you said, I mean, there's really no outlet. I mean, it's like we're all here together. So what are some things that, like, parents need to understand about students? And you mentioned a few of those, but as they're coming back into the house, and we're needing to give them some space. And then what do
Mhm.
students need to know about parents and maybe what we're thinking?
Yeah. I think the word that comes to mind here is boundaries.
Mhm.
Um, but it's boundaries between adults, and I think that's probably the biggest shift for parents to make is, for parents of college students, we are not very old, we're not very experienced in treating our young adult children as adults. Um, we've got a few years under our belt, but a lot of those they were off, and part of our job as parents were letting them be gone. And
Mhm.
so, how do um, three or four or how many ever adults in the same household mark their boundaries?
Mhm.
And those boundaries have to do with space and also authority. How much authority does the parent have, and how much authority and autonomy does the young adult have? And sorting these kind of boundaries out is really important. I think making that overt. Um, it may seem in some way cliche to have a family meeting, but I think young adults will afford parents that to say these are unusual times. No one expected this. We're all in this together. Let's figure out how to live under this roof in a way that we all really respect each other and love each other uh, in the best way possible, given this is weird.
Yeah. And we don't know how long it's going to last. I mean, for them,
Right.
they're home for the semester, but
Yeah. Is it going to be through May or June or July? We're not.
mhm.
We don't know. Um, but I think uh, setting some sort of, or maybe getting rid of some expectations that are there. Like, well, they said this, in Nashville, it's safer at home order for 14 days. Does that mean in 14 days we're all like everything's going to be open back up?
Right.
Probably not. We'll take it as it comes, and I think setting that as the expectation um, is important
Mhm.
for things. I guess here's another thing for sorting out the things we can control and the things we can't.
Mhm.
We can't control when anything outside of ourselves really happens,
Mhm.
but we can control how we interact with other people inside the house. Um, and and so I think doing that kind of sorting is really important collectively.
Mhm.
What can we do and what can't we do? And then individually, what can I do and what can't I do?
Mhm. So, do you have any you mentioned family meeting and all of that, but any particular, like, activities or just tips for, I mean, coping may be a little strong, but it might end up
Sure.
being coping, after a while. But, are there things like activities or going outside for a walk? I mean, anything that you would recommend
Yeah.
for a family that's like, you've got to help us here?
Yes. One of the things that going to work does, or going to school, a lot of students do work and school, is it provides um, the structure of their day.
Mm-hmm.
And they know when free time is, and they know when work time is, and they know when they're
Right.
supposed to be in class. I think the most significant thing that we have lost is um, the structure mechanisms that we've come accustomed to. And so, because those are largely gone for a lot of our college students, um, it may feel liberating initially,
Mm-hmm.
but you kind of know how it's like at it your schedule looks totally free, doesn't feel like freedom for very long. It can turn into the monotony or the boredom or the tyranny of a thousand minutes in a row where you don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do. So helping co-construct, collaborate together, um, a some sort of structure that includes sleeping, that includes eating. This is a great time to figure out meal prep
Mm-hmm.
together. And because the young adults are young adults, they can participate in some adulting
Mm-hmm.
activities such as meal prep and meal cleanup and things like that. Those things take time, but they also punctuate the day because they have to happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so putting those markers in the day helps break up the day. And then your basic things like um, laundry and keeping the house clean and whatnot, just sharing those responsibilities, but then also anticipating things that could be fun
Mm-hmm.
together. Um, you could order a new game. Code Names is my new favorite game.
Code names. Okay.
And it's a great game. There's another fun game called Clank and some of these other deck building games that you can kind of take an evening and it could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it, and since there's not much else to do, um, suddenly that is super fun
Mm-hmm.
relative to the other things. Um, so I think learning how to punctuate the day and break up the huge chunks into smaller chunks. Students are going to need a portion of time to do their studies.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need time and just some time like, hey, this is, everybody scatter about the house. This is time you want to take a nap, you want to read a book, you want to do whatever. This is your time. We got a chunk of time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, no one's going to tell you what to do. Um, and definitely getting out and walking if you're near anything that's nature and beautiful. um, it's worth a zip out there. You can still social distance
Mm-hmm.
in those kind of places. And yeah, we were just doing this yesterday with our family, the four of us. Like, hey, let's take a walk. And there was like, that I don't want to. Let's just do it. We'll go by the coffee shop. We'll do a takeout coffee, and let's just walk. And we committed them to a 10-minute walk. Well, it ended up being an hour.
Wow.
And by minute 40, about my son said, "Hey, Dad, I got to ask you a question." And it was a really good question. We had enough quantity time for quality time to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was super important in that moment. So if you can pull that sort of thing off, enough quantity time, quality time should show up.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings up a good point too. I mean, this will be a challenge just getting used to new schedules and habits and the world being different, but there are some pluses as well. I mean, like you
Mhm.
said, I mean, do we not all wish for the gift of time? Well, we have it, and especially with these young adults who it is sort of an unexpected gift that, hey, they're at home for an extra month or two before they launch into the world or whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, even if it's not necessarily viewed that way by them, it can also be a positive.
When my daughter graduated from high school in 2016, and then my son graduated in 2018, and some thoughts that had come to my mind upon their graduation were just like, questions I think a lot of parents have of, did I do a good enough job? And oh, I wish I would have told them this. And
Mhm.
am I ever going to get to do this again? And I've had to really process, okay, to what extent is this an opportunity
Mhm.
to ease my own parenting conscience?
Yeah.
And then, uh, but at the same time, do it unselfishly.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to do makeup parenting per se, But this is the situation we're in. I'm a dad in an unexpected way, um, with my adult children under the same roof. Um, so um, it's not necessarily a chance to make up for things, but it's a chance to do things well now and try to be humble and courageous and just very loving. I also know this is a chance where the levels of uncertainty in young adults right now, there's uncertainties they're probably feeling that they can't articulate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an opportunity for me to have a calm presence with them, to be as reassuring as I can without being unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you do good parenting under no one I know has lived through a pandemic. And so we're scripting our own parenting in this moment. Um, uh, and so I'm trying to, like, okay, this is an experiment. There's not the book on this. Probably by the end of April, somebody
There'll be a
will
lot of
publish a
books.
book on this. um, but this is a time of a natural experiment happening, and let's do it well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do as best we can.
So do you have any, just anything else you'd like to share about that, or maybe even any resources? And I know that right now, I'm sure the counseling world is having to rethink things with,
Mm-hmm.
virtual counseling and all of that, but just, I didn't know if there were any other resources that you could point people to, here or in their communities.
Um, so I know online there's a lot of places that are just kind of opening up their resources, like museums are having these amazing free online tours of um, all the things that they have in the museums. And the New York Public Library unlocked like 300,000 books, and I think Nashville Public Library did something similar to that. So those are some things to do that can, just engage the creativity and pass the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would also look for maybe on the mental health side, um, anxiety and depression. There's an elevated risk because of the unknowns and the uncertainties, and it can feel like responsibilities are piling up too much that I don't really know how to do. Like, am I really going to be good at school online?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know that's a concern for some students. Um, so the structure can help with that, and the constant, not constant contact, but regular contact, and some orienting things. But then also, the mental health world has rapidly moved from face-to-face interactions as the primary way of doing mental health to online. I was just in a meeting today where the Lipscomb Family Therapy Center is going to move to almost exclusively online telehealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so the good news with that is um, you can still see a therapist, but you can do it in your own home, and there should be plenty of opportunities out there to do that. And so I think that there's resources there. Um, Churches are doing some really creative things with their worship services,
Mm-hmm.
with their youth ministries, and with their children's ministries, uh, through live streaming. And what I like about that is that's just another thing that can orient your day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or orient your week even. I was thinking the pandemic game to play is prove it's not Saturday.
Yeah.
Um,
Every day's a Saturday.
it seems like every day's Saturday, but Saturdays aren't magic if it wasn't for the other days. And so, it's not Saturday if Sunday you get together as a family and watch a live stream from your church, or now, like, you can go to the church of your choice from the comfort of your own home,
That's
right?
exactly right.
And so this would be a time to get a inside look into another place. So how do you know it's not Saturday? Well, we went to church on Sunday, and of course you can't get Chick-fil-A.
No, that's true. Get the
So
drive-through any other day.
right. um, so I don't know, staying connected to those kind of anchor points in family, in church, and if you need therapy, there's online versions. These are ways to stay afloat as we get through this together. Parents inviting, not demanding, kind of under the call of we're all in this together, I think is a good thing. Having confidence without over certainty, I think, can provide a space of comfort and peace for your young adult children who are trying to figure out what in the world to do with their lives, especially if they're graduating. Are there jobs out there? Well, the answer is we don't necessarily know right now. But in this moment, we're here together.
Yep.
We're safe. You have a place in this world, and it's here.
Yep. Well, that's perfect, Chris. I really appreciate your time this afternoon, and hopefully, these will be some words that are helpful to parents and students out there.
Well, I hope so. I really appreciate it. And are you paying rent for that room space you got there for your office?
No, but that's a really good idea. But unfortunately, College Boy's jobs just went away too, so he won't be able to pay us, but he can pay us in some labor.
Okay. Very well. Very well.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kim.